Folks, be careful. What you're looking at is the single most beautiful country, and you might be stunned just by how amazing it looks. I'm of course talking about the one country with the best people, the best countryside, and the best cuisine. I'm talking about none other than beautiful, beautiful Bavaria. You can see the sun shines over our lands because, again, we are of course blessed as is. Today we're here to start a new playthrough where we play as a country in a roleplay fashion rather than a min-max fashion. Listen, if I wanted to optimize everything, we could do that, but it would get boring. We're going to do our best to form a Bavaria that makes sense. If there's a new stream, if there's a new political development, then of course I will adhere to it. Today we are starting as King Ludwig I von Bayern, and I gotta tell you, he has many interests. For example, did you know that it is spelled this way because he loved Greece? He was a bit of a Greekaboo, and as you can see right here, King Otto is his son. Yes, this is exactly how this went, and quite frankly, he was actually quite interesting. He was interested in liberal reforms until, well, you know, the commoners became too uppity. He was also interested in industrialization and, of course, the arts, and we're going to sort of go into all of these directions. I don't think that he has the wherewithal to tell that maybe empowering the liberals will be a bit difficult for the monarchy going forward, but that is something that we will figure out as we go. We start in a decent position. We are of course part of the Prussian market. We don't want to get subsumed into Germany, but that just means that we need to build relationship with the other countries here that are basically in the same boat as us. You can see that Württemberg already likes us. Baden could like us more, and I think it would be great if France and maybe Austria would like us a bit more as well, because we need to rely on them if we want to get rid of Prussia. And since this is a playthrough with my mod that is also on the workshop, I gotta tell ya, Prussia will be pretty smart. They will absorb everybody around them, and then they will look towards Austria and challenge them. And then it might be open hunting season for us. So we need to be prepared, and I would like to be prepared. What we're going to do here is, first of all, we're going to invest a bit more into production. We actually have really good mining sites, so why don't we go ahead and invest in this a bit more? After that, we can definitely do some agriculture. It doesn't hurt, and will, of course, also then allow us to actually go towards nitroglycerin. But I think this is the starting point right here. See, normally, I would have said on older versions of the game, hey, you should just go with realism, just spam art academies, and you will be able to become a major power and can then form the South German Federation. That doesn't work anymore. People are all of a sudden building arts academies, and we can't prestige spam that way. So with that in mind, we obviously need to build up our economy. I think we can switch to iron frame buildings here, if only because we are currently in the Prussian market. But basically, we want to invest so that we can have our own market whenever we leave the Prussian one. See, in actuality, Bavaria is a really interesting starting position, and the reason for this is that we can build up while we're in the market, and then we can leave the market, annex the other German miners here in South Germany, and hope that we can form the South German Federation with maybe some French help. But it has to be said, when it comes to, for example, sulfur, we literally have none. When it comes to actual access to the sea, well, see for yourself, we literally have none. Which ultimately means that at least for most of the game, unless we were to form Germany, which I think we can save ourselves from, we have to trade with largely Austria and France. Since Prussia, of course, is our enemy, it's very unlikely that we will get steady trade from them. And maybe at some point we can get some coastal access, maybe via Sardinia, Piedmont, but man, that is a fever dream as it stands. No sulfur, no ports, these are our dangerous situations. See, and usually when we start playing this game, I always go really hard on consumption tax, and I'm not saying that we're not going to be doing this right now, maybe we will, right? But what I definitely want to do, because in the Iran game that we did just very recently, I noticed that promote social mobility is insanely powerful. Sure, it makes more angry people, but that's not necessarily bad if I want more politically active pops, right? And at the same time, it generates such a high level of education and qualification access. It's amazing. So, let's just invest in this, and honestly, I'm not sure what we want of these focuses, because we will have mines in both of these locations. You know what, now that I think about this, I think we're going to go ahead. We're going to cancel these iron mines in Franconia, and we're actually going to place all mines down here in core Bavaria, and then build industry and such in Franconia. It's a really, really weird, sort of top-heavy build, but I like the idea that we can build this up as a manufacturing site and then build this up as a site of the mining industry. So for the moment, I'm just going to go ahead and actually push down resource industry right here in Munich. There will be no culture, there will be no manufacturing, we will just be in the mines. Look at the guy, yeah, a romantic is definitely the right trait for Ludwig I. Yeah. This guy in Greece, I'm telling you. We are in a position where we could reform our government to include the Catholic Church. I'm actually in favor of this right now. It would speak against liberalization, which honestly he was lukewarm on at best. But it definitely gives us a lot more, in terms of legitimacy, and that speeds up a whole bunch of other things. What I would love to do, I don't really want to liberalize this right now. I don't think there's an incentive for this. I would like Yeah, look at that, a healthcare system. I would like to have more institutions. And of course, the first thing to spread to us is egalitarianism. Now, I gotta tell you, nothing wrong with egalitarianism, technically speaking, but it is the one thing that makes us eligible for the springtime of the peoples. We might be seeing some radical uprisings here fairly quickly. See, don't tell anybody. But ideally, I would actually kind of love it if at some point throughout this playthrough we would become a Bavarian Räterepublik. I think that would be pretty cute. Oh my god, first try charity hospitals. Hello? Oh wow, and this is a rare sight. Mexico actually lost the initial battle against Texas. Quite rare now with the changes to warfare there. We do see Russia here, already annexing the Orta-Juche. I believe this will be an annexation. Yep, indeed. How about Britain and the Great Qing? Ah, they just initiated the play. They want war reparations and Shaozhou Treaty Port. Yeah, they're gonna pull that off, I think. And immediately, look at that. A statue of King Ludwig I von Bayern was commissioned, and it has been suggested that it be displayed proudly in Bavaria. Yes, I think absolutely. Come on, ridiculous. You know, he did love building sites of culture, so I'm not too surprised by this being a thing. And our population is so happy. Look at that. How nice for them. And honestly, in general, we are actually doing really well when it comes to our laws. Obviously, we have tenant farming. We just barely made it out of serfdom. We don't have any elections, but we do have appointed bureaucrats and professional army, which is incredibly strong. Now, state religion might be a bit troublesome, if only for the fact that, of course, in Franconia you have a sizable amount of Protestants, as you still do today, actually. Now, ideally, if we, just get this done, I would love them to convert away from this and have a completely Catholic Bavaria. Look at that, 2.63k per month. That is honestly not enough. I need more people turning. Oh, Jesus Christ. Subjugation refused. 2 Sicilies refused to become a protectorate of France. France wanted to repeat what Napoleon had also done in Italy, and it didn't work. I'm really interested in seeing Italy develop here. They get quite chaotic with the mod, and I like that about them. I would really like them to do this as much as they can. See, everything that we do here in the early game, at least in the first 10 years, I would say, is basically aiming at us becoming independent in our own industry. Obviously, we are part of the bigger market, but once we go independent, we can start importing it, or rather, we have to start importing it, and the less we have to import, the less this will be for our bureaucracy, and man, that is just, all the better. What we're going to do here is, I'm definitely going to put everything in Bavaria, and then just keep building up the resource industry, because ultimately, that is really what will keep us afloat once we go independent. Oh man, and Russia immediately went in as well. You can see Britain already finished their war here, took their treaty port, and now Russia is coming in for Qing-Tomsk, so that should be, if I'm not mistaken, be, that location right here. I think they're going to win it. They already hold it. That shouldn't be too big of an issue, and that will kick off a pretty hefty century of humiliation for the Chinese here. Maybe they can rebound, but honestly, I doubt it. This is a tough issue for them here. Yeah, lost the Opium Wars. Just look at this. Minus 50 legitimacy, minus 2 standard of living. It's rough out there. Oh god, and you hate seeing this message. Prussia becomes a unification candidate. So Prussia, with the mod, is meant to basically sort of have a staggered aggression towards Austria. The more minors they annex, the more aggressive will they be to Austria, and with that, the more likely will they be to actually go in against Austria when it comes to, the leadership casus belli. As it stands right now, we're pretty safe, but I give ourselves like maybe 10-15 years before Prussia starts wilding out, and if they defeat Austria, again, we might be next. Yeah, and this is the exact issue. We're looking at a situation where sulfide pulping right now would be viable because we are in the Prussian market, but long term, unless I secured Saxony, which seems pretty unlikely to me, long term we can't actually maintain it because importing it will be impossible because France and Austria and Prussia will all three use it up extremely aggressively. What I need to do is I need to stay behind on technologies like this, as well as of course technologies like this. We just cannot afford the actual silk here until I get either a port or an actual silk province. So that being said, yep, can't do this either. We will have to focus on getting everything down, including steel. But that is about everything that we can do. You can see our GDP has already grown quite nicely. We're making our way up there, and I think next are definitely the steel mills right here. Let's pump them out. And oh Jesus, there's egalitarianism. And like I said, we're now looking at all of a sudden having Springtime of the Peoples viable. And you can see it's pretty easy to get. Any Bavarian interest group, not marginalized. Approval is lower than 6 or minus 6 and has ideology radical. They would literally trigger this immediately if they had a radical, which they don't, which is good for us, but yes, I think we're gonna see some pretty nasty years coming up. And look at that, they're building another arts academy. I love our capitalists. Well, I guess at this point, actually, it should mostly be aristocrats, right? Who's really investing in this? Logging camps, subsistence farms, furniture manufacturers. Yeah, it's pretty spread out, but those are the heavy hitters right here, and they are investing in the arts. I love when they do this. Listen, prestige spam might be gone, but the arts academies in all their glory live further in my heart. And it doesn't look, by the way, as if Prussia had annexed anybody yet, which to me means that Prussia itself actually doesn't have nationalism, which is massive. I mean, that really gives us a lot of time. What is this? Undeserved blame. Some South German people are unfairly blaming the poor living conditions in Bavaria on their Ashkenazi neighbors. This was, and this is very interesting and important to point out, actually a stream that was super present. The rebellions of 1848, as well as, of course, the previous rebellions that were seen in Bavaria before the start of the game, were explicitly anti-Semitic in nature. This was just the very common sort of blame game that was being played here. And I'll be honest with you, I think that the aristocracy is quite... At worst, or rather at best, they're ignorant to it, and at worst, they think that this is good because it puts away the pressure that should be rightfully on the landowners because, well, this is our tax regime that people are hating here. I'm gonna ignore this right now. Let's see what it does for the future. And here they are. The damn liberals demanding freedom of conscience. Listen, the strongest faction in this country right now is the Catholic Church. I don't think we're gonna change that. Sorry about that, buddy. It's kind of weird that the Ottomans haven't yet gone in against Egypt. Usually they do this around this time. The truce ends in 1840. I'm really curious whether they can do this. I have seen them only once actually finish off the Tanzimat. Oh, and there they go. Whether they can finish it now, yeah, this is a big question, but look at that. They have all these primary demands. I love seeing this in comparison to the usual thing. Chances are, though, that they might still very well lose. It is basically a coin toss. And now we're talking. This is why I was so keen on building up the coal mines right here, because the atmospheric engines will be dramatically good for us. Our economy should now skyrocket, and I believe indeed it does, which hopefully will allow me to become a major power. Again, this is the big objective here in the early game. As long as you keep building the fundamentals, I think you should have a pretty decent time breaking out of the grasp of Prussia. Alright, let's try to analyze this. First of all, Circassia is being annexed by Russia. That makes perfect sense to me. Nothing going on over there. And then we're seeing the Ottomans push into the Levant while losing land right here in Ankara and Diyarbakir. None of these are really consequential because these are just territories they don't actually add anything to the entire equation right here. But I think, yeah, they're still missing Palestine. Once they get this, the Ottomans might very well be pretty close to finishing the Tanzimat, because there's a free one here, right, where you have to deal with the minorities, and they never rise up, which means that that is just a given. And then maybe building up the army could be viable to get closer. I don't know. Let's see what they do, but strong Ottomans could be good for us if, we could long-term use them against Austria. And look at these liberals demanding right of assembly. I don't think so. You know, there is something about this period that I think most people sort of underestimate. The degree of surveillance and police suppression that existed, especially in the German states. This entire period is called Vormärz, because, again, the springtime of the people, right? März means March, so this is the period before the springtime when the ice, when the winter was there. And that was because we are in an unprecedented amount of suppression and surveillance that just wasn't viable before. I think most people actually never take a look at this, right? But this right here, for example, central archives. The idea of having every bit of information about your citizens in central archives was entirely unheard of. And all of a sudden, this becomes available and makes it so that, well, I can press this button. I will suppress them all. The monarchy must yet stand, and it will definitely prevail. I think all in all, when people look at this period, they just say, oh, nothing happened right here, but I'm telling you, the very first totalitarian surveillance states were built right here, and it was a crazy mess. Why do you think, oh no, they just annexed Saxony? Well, there goes my potential sulfur. But why do you think Kafka was so depressed and was so in the state of mind that everywhere could be surveillance at any given moment? Because this is the name of the game in this period. And oh, Jesus Christ, wait a minute. Okay, I think I know what happened here. The Ottomans are gonna lose this because Russia jumped in with their own diplo plays. So, let's take a look at this, right? They were winning this, and they currently are technically winning this. Who is winning faster? Minus 4.33 against minus 6. I think this is a race to minus 100 that is fairly equal in its speed. Well, anyway, this aside, they were doing incredibly well until they had to shift troops to the Russian border because the Russians are now coming in. And for what are they coming? Oh my god. Right, so they want the Ottomans to get rid of any claim that they have to the Levant and they want a treaty port. On the other side, this is unironically the Crimean War right here. Okay, that's actually kind of funny. France sided with Russia, which is unexpected, obviously, but this is gonna be a big war. There are no minor desires here. I guess this is literally just over the future of the Middle East. Look at that. What an absolute escalation right here. My worry is that this could strengthen Prussia enough to immediately challenge Austria. And yeah, France here really hates the Ottomans and the Russians really hate the British. What is going on in the general rivalry system here? Yeah, this is a one-sided rivalry, but they of course hate each other. Austria is jumping in. I guess they have a fairly poor relationship to Russia at the very least. No, actually, their relation is fine, but their stance is very much a negative one. Look at that. Yeah, okay, you can very clearly see the alliances here. At the very least, Prussia and Austria are actually united on the topic of the Ottomans. They both want to protect them. If Prussia jumps into this play, could they? Oh, they don't have an interest in the region. That is why they aren't jumping in. So they stayed neutral, and that means that maybe the Ottomans are screwed here. Man, this is going to be a tight match. Alright, and there goes one war. The Ottomans have actually finished their conquest of the Levant, which should, if I'm not mistaken, at least invalidate. Yeah, it invalidated a whole bunch of goals here. Obviously, they came in too late. The authority has already been asserted. And now's the question, are the Ottomans going to back down here? Or are they going to take this fight together with Britain and Austria? There you go, the war has started. Now, down here, the Ottomans are actually winning. Yep, at least from the looks of it. And then up here, the Austrians are losing. It looks like the initial offenses on either side is sort of failing. What are we looking at when it comes to the general front behavior? We got 118 troops from the Russian side and 214 from the Austrian side. I guess, yeah, there are some British in here, but the Austrians are really asserting authority. They do not want the Russians to meddle down here. The other front line, on the other hand, oh wow, no, the Russians are outnumbered. I think they were essentially bluffing. And oh my god, without this event, I wouldn't even have noticed this. Raising concerns. The rural folk have expressed their concerns about government decisions, clearly favoring the interests of the industrialists. As I said, our king is quite favorable towards industrialization. Always remember that, of course, the very first railway in Germany was actually right here in Fürth. I gotta tell you, I did not realize that the industrialists are up to 20%. Jesus Christ. I can only pray that they do not turn into radicals. That could be a huge issue. I'm not going to address this. I disrespect the peasants more than I disrespect the other new elite, right? So I'm just going to say they need to accept that we cannot always please everyone. Get out of here. Now, choosing the actual right timeline for us going independent, rather outside of the Prussian market, and hopefully taking these guys with us, we need to understand what actually drives them right here, right? Baden is in a position where they're genial and amicable. If we have central banking, which we're currently researching, we can get a favor off of them and we should be able to add them to our market. Württemberg, on the other hand, is cautious, which is a huge risk for us, because being cautious means that they will definitely not be willing to join us. Now, normally you can't really verify before you leave your market whether somebody else would be willing to switch into your market, but we can essentially do this. If I click on this, you can see this right here. If I had an actual obligation rather than just owing one, we are very close to doing it. If we are a major power and have an obligation on Baden, we can leave the Prussian actual customs union and then immediately add Baden, which means that the Bavarian Rhineland will also never be isolated. Now, with Württemberg, this is a bit of a different issue because they are cautious. We need to bankroll both of these as soon as we get central banking, and I think then we're just maybe 5 years off of actually getting this done. You can see our GDP is doing well. I mean, I can't complain. And oh my god, so I hate this. I hate nihilism if it is something that is happening to industrialists, but this is actually on the intelligentsia, and it makes perfect sense. We have an incredibly and exceedingly strong Catholic Church, and the intelligentsia says they are not listening to us. They've made the police suppression worse. We hate these guys. The monarchy and religion are all bad. And now Ernst Auerbach right here is leading our intelligentsia towards nihilism. Perhaps they have a point, makes the intelligentsia more likely to pick nihilist leaders going forward. And he gets incredibly popular. This is treason, heresy, or the state must ban nihilist literature. I like the idea of maybe a middle path. I think we're going to go with this. I think nihilism for the intelligentsia actually makes a whole lot of sense, right? But I don't want him to be overwhelmingly strong. The people of Bavaria in general, I reckon, are fairly conservative as they are. This is treason heresy is what we're going to go with here, because we do believe this, but we're not going to clamp down anymore as to not provoke them further. This will give him a significant boost in popularity, and we shall see where the intelligentsia goes, but at the very least, they're not radicals. I mean, that's a big boost right here. I gotta tell you though, I don't think we're going to be cooperating with the intelligentsia at any point going forward, or rather, At least until Ludwig here is gone. Alright, I'm not gonna lie to you. Listen, I like the mod that I'm playing with because I made the mod together, of course, with Drools, the wonderful, wonderful modder. And yet, I've never seen the Ottomans actually withstand Russia. When Russia comes in, Russia beats up. This is the very first time, and this battle right here is indeed going favorably for the Ottomans, which then makes it so that they have all their war goals, and what is virtually the same thing as the Crimean War here in our timeline is going to end with a complete Russian humiliation, brought by the hands of Austria. What a surprise. And oh god, my worst nightmare. Prussia is too smart with this mod. Prussia has declared for German leadership against Austria. Doesn't look like any of the other great powers will intervene. And without them, I mean, this will be an Austrian loss. Oh man, okay. I cannot intervene in this war. I will stay neutral. I will be the coward here, okay? Alright, Sardinia-Piedmont is coming in on the side of Prussia to demand Lombardy. And Austria is being supported by Switzerland. We shall see, okay? But I'm gonna stay out of this. I need to leave the Prussian market as soon as possible. That's the only thing that I can really do here. Alright, so interestingly enough, what we're seeing here is a defeat in Sardinia-Piedmont for the Sardinians, obviously, but then a victory here in Austria. I think Sardinia might capitulate out of this before Austria is defeated, which then in turn would mean that they don't get Lombardy. But if they do, man, that would be cool. Instead of France aiding Sardinia-Piedmont, it would be Prussia. That could be an inseparable alliance, right? I mean, what could ever come between these two, Italy and Germany? And in the end, because Austria had to focus on Prussia, because they had a Diplo play against them that forced them to leave the war against Russia right here, Russia actually succeeded against the Ottomans. Prussia undoubtedly completely knocked the Ottomans down. What seemed such a strong start has become a disaster. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. But, at the very least, they didn't have to give land to Sardinia-Piedmont. Yeah, alright, interesting. So, Sardinia actually capitulated before Austria did, which leaves them with virtually nothing. Too bad indeed. Alright, and here starts our race against time. I need to start bankrolling these folks so that they can actually become friendly towards us and so that I can get a favor. This is incredibly important because currently I'm not feeling too confident in the future of this run. Prussia has been far too competent. I hate these guys, okay? Get the Prussians out of here, I beg you. And man, I am telling you that the social mobility decree is insane. Now, is it beneficial for us to have all these people be this literate? Maybe. Honestly, it's difficult to say. Obviously, we also do have a school institution, but I like them being literate because I would love an actual politically sort of invested game rather than the fairly timid, you know, nobody can read game that we had in Persia. And by the way, look at that. Russia is trying to go for a treaty port. Either way, we're looking at a situation where I just need a couple of favors here and we could actually get this done. Whew. Oh my god, and look at all these trains going. It's so many trains actually going everywhere. We have properly industrialized here, and hopefully can soon, very soon, reap the actual rewards. Here you can see we're friendly with you now. Baden. Oh, Baden has flipped. And now, sadly, I'm lacking the favor here. But, man, we really, really need to get this. Now, sadly, we are actually lacking the favor here, but I'm gonna be honest with you. Can I just... Look at that. At least here in the change to our customs union, Baden would simply accept. They just love the idea. I think it's friendly and cooperative. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then value of existing customs union. I'm not sure whether it has a wrong calculation there. I would prefer having a favor. I'll tell you that much. Can I take on debt? Oh, technically I can take Waldeck's debt on. I'm not interested in that. Sorry about that. Oh, and we are so close to being a major power. Being a major power would make me very confident that I can leave this market and then absorb Württemberg and Baden. You need to be a major power and have nationalism and be at least amicable, but let's be real, we definitely overshot this. Baden supports Prussia, don't do that. We are in a position where I really, really need to be a major power because even without favors, I think we can just leave the market and be fine. If we don't have that, we might be kind of screwed. Ooh, and is this the first Springtime of the Peoples so far? Springtime of the Peoples in Württemberg. Let me actually make this into a toast right there, because I definitely want to be alarmed when other people enter it. This now means that Württemberg may very well spread it to us. We'll see, right? We shall see without a doubt. If we can just get a couple more points here to become a major power, we might actually be able to get Württemberg and annex them before any of this jumps over to us. Let's go! Okay, major power, we have made it. Suck it. For some reason, the requirement actually got worse. I think Britain may have slightly dropped in their ranking. Who knows? I have no idea what's happening. Let me ask you this, right? We don't have any favors, unless I'm mistaken. Let me just double check. Nope, we got no favors, which really sucks. I mean, very, very unlucky here. If I were to ask you to become a part of my customs union, you would say no, and you would also say no. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Value of existing customs union. Right. Yeah, I need the favor. Alright, so good to know. We need the favor. With the favor, we can make it work. Without it, we can't. And so we are kind of imprisoned here. And here towards the very end, we seem to have an escalation yet again between Russia and Prussia. This is over Mecklenburg. So Prussia wants to protect Mecklenburg. Russia wants it as a warm water port, I guess. Honestly, not too stupid by them there. I think I'm going to use this opportunity. We're going to pick up Central Archives here, which makes it so that I can buff out just, you know, how many trade routes I can have, because all of a sudden we have all of this bureaucracy. And I think we're going to leave now. You know what? Let's let this roll until they go to war, and then I'm going to abandon Prussia. Yeah, sure. Oh, and I actually overlooked this. Look at that. The Americans are also going in here, and I believe that they're actually claiming everything. If I'm not mistaken, then they're actually taking the entirety here, and that finishes off their entire Mexican secession. I mean, it depends on whether the Mexicans just surrender. Nope, it doesn't at all, because these are all primary demands. We have a lot of movement right here, and look at that, man. Russia is doing something here. They've taken a treaty port in the Great Qing as well. Whether we are able to get Baden and Württemberg out of the Prussian customs union and create our own sort of a middle path here is something to be seen, and that is something for the video going forward. For the moment, I will leave you right here with this beautiful, beautiful and incredibly industrialized Bavaria already here in 1851. I will see you later. Alligator.